All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you all for coming tonight. I am Mike Zeller, the Assistant Director of the Shrewsbury Public Library. One other person. And yeah, thank you all for joining us. We've got a really exciting program tonight, I think. Just one bit of housekeeping. So there will be a survey going out tomorrow to everybody who attended. If it's just a couple quick questions, if you can just take a second to fill that out, that helps us a lot with our planning of future programs, just to kind of get a feel for what people are interested in. Okay, so I will be disappearing momentarily. I'm going to hand things over to Alex Richardson, who is the manager of Ballpark and Community Relations with the WooSox. So take it away, Alex.
Well, thank you, Mike, and Happy New Year to everybody on. I know definitely, I think a new year is well needed, right? Especially in light of COVID, and also we're feeling refreshed and excited for 22. But with the new year, I think definitely recapping things is something that we definitely want to do today, and just tell you guys a little bit about our organization, more so kind of just how we started, right? With the transition, the move here to Worcester, and then a recap of the season, and then not just baseball, other things that we do here at Ballpark. Definitely more than just a ballpark, just the playing element of things. So I was going to introduce some other folks here, some of my colleagues. So I'll start off with Nathan. Maybe if you want to just introduce yourself, tell everybody your name and title, and maybe your hometown, where you're from.
Yeah, so I'm like Alex said, Nathan Lucchino. I from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I'm not from Massachusetts, but still a big Boston fan. Maybe some of you may recognize the last name. Yeah, I just started full time recently this year. Just doing marketing and regionalization, which is sort of going out into the community and making sure that more people aren't just coming to the ballpark. We're headed out all through central and western Massachusetts and really engaging with the fan base. So yeah, that's about it.
Perfect. Rick, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. My name is Rick Medeiros, and I am the chief ambassador, which means I handle all of fan services. We do strive for perfection, and at times there are hiccups, and we assure you we will make it right for you. It was a great year, absolutely great, and we have a great team, a great staff that has a full commitment to fans first and a genuine caring in running the ballpark.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, and I'm Steve Oliveira. I work on the marketing side of things here at Polar Park and for the WooSox. From a little bit further west out in the state, Ludlow, Massachusetts. And before my time with the Worcester Red Sox, I was actually with the Boston Red Sox for quite a while. So that's how I got to know Dr. Charles Steinberg, team president here, and also Bobby D, who Bob Picoto is a longtime ambassador as well there at Fenway Park, and he and I worked together for some time there at Fenway as well. So thank you for having me tonight.
Bill B.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. My name's Joe Bradley. I work in community relations, player relations for the club as well. And like Steve, I also came from Boston, where I also got to know Dr. Charles Steinberg quite well. And I just wrapped up my 9th season in the organization after our inaugural season at Polar Park. And thank you so much to everybody at the library for having us on here. It's really a pleasure to be on. So thank you guys.
And last but not least, I'll get out of the way so he can introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Charles Steinberg, and thrilled to be with the Worcester Red Sox, thrilled to be at Polar Park. This first year exceeded our expectations, and I think what we loved the most, while the ballpark was beautiful and the baseball players played entertaining baseball, we just felt the excitement of the city, and we have felt the excitement of the city since August 17th, 2018. And we say city, but the fact that we're on with the Shrewsbury Public Library is indicative of a larger region with whom we want to interact. And while Worcester is the heart of the Commonwealth and our home. The 9 towns that abut Worcester are part and parcel. They're just very much part of our daily life, and about 100 cities and towns really are in our range, in our area, and we want to build relationships with every single one of those cities and towns. We met with the leaders of Shrewsbury. We talked about things that are important to Shrewsbury, whether it's bringing cricket to a cricket match to Polar Park, or whether it's honoring those who are riding in those, what kind of boats were they have each weekend in April and May? Crew, yeah, those crew members. And it's not hard, it's not a stretch for us to patronize the restaurants in Shrewsbury. So it's really a model for what we want to do everywhere. But we've loved meeting the people of this region. And I see a lot of names tonight. It's great if we see your faces, if you turn your cameras on, but if you're doing the laundry or you're washing your hair and you don't want to turn the cameras on, we understand. But just know that we do like to meet people and get to know folks. And we hope to keep the year-round uses of Polar Park going, with events in January, February, March. But also we want to get out and about. And between Nathan, who's running point, by the way, he mentioned his last name. That's not Larry Lucchino. They look a lot alike, but Larry is actually Nathan's great uncle. And Nathan, you should know, had an internship with us. And I interviewed Nathan, and Larry never said a word. And I said, wow, Nathan's quite good. Oh, good. But Larry didn't say a word. So Nathan's career, while you probably it was probably a good career move to interview somebody named Lucchino, has earned everything he's gotten. And Larry never had a word that he needed to say. Rick Medeiros has been with the WooSox and WooSox for about 150 years, I guess. He is actually a 5th generation Rhode Islander.
Look at that.
What's that?
I love that.
Yeah, yes, you do. So English is his second language. Rhode Islandese is his first language, but we deal with that. Let's get past that.
Yeah.
When
Home of the Coax.
whatever. Alex Richardson was a student at Assumption when we met him, and we quickly threw our arms around him and got him into our organization. Joe Bradley, so many things I could tell you about him, but how would you like a workload in which you are required, we require you, Joe, to say yes in some way to every accredited nonprofit in the region and figure out a way to have a community partnership. So it is a tremendous workload, and Joe does it with great cheer. So Steve Oliveira is the father of Win, Dance, Repeat, a phrase that you may have heard when the Red Sox were winning the division in 16 and 17. I think it was already kind of faded by the time they actually won the World Series in 18. So we have a staff I just love. I'm very proud of. To see Bobby D, I don't get to see him all the time. So that's a taste of old home week. So, but for the rest of you, I'd love to know who you all are. I know we're not going to go around the room. I think Alex is going to give you a little bit of an overview of our inaugural season. And I'm thinking and hoping that we're going to be able to field your questions, especially the really hard ones, which Rick Medeiros will answer.
Absolutely.
So, absolutely. And when he does, you'll be sorry you asked, let me tell you. All right. Shall I turn it to you, Alex? Nathan's going to share the screen, and we'll give you a little bit of an overview of WooSox 21 as we get ready for, rather imaginatively, WooSox 22.
Yeah, if you don't
Yeah.
mind sharing your screen, Nathan.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, as Alex said, just a couple slides going through, or actually Dr. Charles said, slides going through our season with some photo evidence. So just sit back and enjoy the show. Okay, just do. Oh, okay.
Alrighty.
For some reason, my there we
We
go.
are so high tech.
I don't know why. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to quit and come back because it's not letting me share my screen. Very sorry. Give me 2 seconds and I'll be right back in. This is
Not hard for us to fill. Can I ask you to turn your cameras on if you can, and give me a show of hands if you've been to Polar Park? Do we have veterans of this? Yes, you have. There you go. All right, I see your hand. All righty. Yes, Bobby's been there. All righty.
Bobby D.
Yes.
There we go. There's Jerry.
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 Hi, Jerry.
Yes. All righty. Good. What I can also invite you to do while we're doing this is, if you're familiar with the high-tech operation, you can write your questions down in the chat box, and we'll be glad to answer those either orally or in writing. But here, look at this. Look at that. Nathan
wow.
Lucchino has come.
We're going.
So here's a little bit of a recap. And let's see what you got. Woohoo.
And Smiley. Go Smiley, looking good.
Everybody knows we chose the smiley face because it was invented in Worcester. Do we have a library discount pass program? It certainly sounds like we should, doesn't it? Why don't you describe to us in the chat box how that would work? But we've made the very first gesture we made with the establishment of the WooSox Foundation was a $25,000 grant to the Worcester Public Library. We created a book nook. So we do love libraries. We love the library, and let's see what we can do. Yeah, humble beginnings is described by taking shovels of dirt. The one on the left was for the redoing of Kelly Square. That's why you see the lieutenant governor in the middle, and the one on the right, the groundbreaking for Polar Park itself. So, all right, here we go. Go ahead. All right, and there you see the progress that we were making 2 years ago, and the one on the right was probably just a year ago. So that looks like March. Well, maybe February. We've come a long way, and doing it through the pandemic required us to suspend operations for 7 weeks, but we still got it done on time. The ribbon cutting opening day was, it's very cool. You know, beginnings are ends of processes, but it was a long road, but we were really, really happy to get it started. And the welcome to Worcester sign would then have an American flag drape over it.
And another thing too, at opening day, which was on May 11th of 2021, we didn't really know what was going to happen with the season, quite frankly, too, about a month and a half, 2 months prior to May. So for us, opening day was extremely special for us. The fact that we were able to have fans actually in the ballpark too. So we were unsure whether that was going to happen. So we started with 25% due to COVID, which we were just happy just to even have a percentage, right? For people from all throughout Central Mass just to partake in it, be part of it, and really experience it, right? The start of something new. We had special guests, Dr. Charles. I know you had James Taylor sing the national anthem. Who else did we have at opening day?
Bob Cousy kind of stole the show with our request that he say 2 words play ball. And if you remember, he gave an oratory that we should probably write up and distribute. And when you're as respected as he is, as old as he is, and as devoted to Worcester as he is, you just let him go. My worry was, if you're counting on me to hold him up, I didn't have a lot of faith in myself that way, and I pictured diving in to hold him if he got wobbly, and you're standing there listening to him, but you're thinking, oh God, don't let me hurt him.
What I loved about it too was the reaction from all of the players post game talking about it, because what was supposed to be 2 words turned into 2 amazing minutes, but that also meant 2 extra minutes of the players warming up. So they felt like they played a full inning with the amount of time that they warmed up. But truly was special to have Bob Cousy, and also earlier this past year, just the honorary thing that they did right outside the DCU Center with the statue of him was amazing to see. So we started off with 25% throughout the season, and then all of a sudden we made a drastic jump up to 100%. And it was something, quite frankly, we were unsure of how it was going to go, right? It felt more like a spring training, and then we were about 2 games into spring training, then you rush into the beginning of the season. Is sort of what it felt like. So instead of that steady increase with capacity, we jumped straight up to 100%, and I just loved it because so many more families were able to come out to the ballpark and experience it for their first time. And I would say one common phrase that we heard throughout the ballpark during games was, wow, I can't believe this is in Worcester. And another common thing was, oh my goodness, this is my first night out or my second night out from COVID. So the fact that fans chose Polar Park as a place to come, in light of COVID, and just experience a fun and of course safe night out, being outside, best experience ever.
Yes, I saw a question about building a footbridge from the library to Polar Park. And I get that, because the library lot, it's deceiving, because you see, if you cross the street and the ballpark is right there. However, what a lot of people don't understand or don't know is, if you cross the street into the funeral parking lot, there's a staircase there for Madison Place that takes you down the stairs, and you pop out the other side of Madison Place on Madison Street. So it's actually about a 7-minute walk from the library parking lot to the ballpark, as opposed to crossing Southbridge, taking a left and going under the bridge there, and then down Green Street, which is fine also, because you have Gate A, which is very close and a great advantageous gate to go into, because you're now in the ballpark, and that usually has the shortest lines. Going across the street and taking a right beyond the fence, you got quite a haul all the way down to Southbridge Street, and then all the way to Southbridge Street down to Madison Street. So your best bet, it's a great place to park because it's nice and close. But if you just cross the street, go into Madison Plaza, down the stairs, top out right on Madison Street, you're good to go.
So there's actually an outdoor secret passageway that kind of serves the purpose of that pedestrian bridge.
Well, it's no longer secret.
We won't tell a soul. And the reason Rick knows it so well is he drives the Blue Woo shuttle. He doesn't call it a golf cart. It's about an 8-seat vehicle, and picks up folks after they park. And when he did it with me, he said, did you know that you could cut through, you can call it the funeral lot, I call it Social Security lot. Sounds a little better to me.
Well, that would be the wrong lot though, Chuck.
No, but I still can walk through. I still walk through that, and I can go around the far side. There are many penetrable passages. Rick can show them to you, and he not only won't charge you, he won't even take your money. So this screen is because of an opportunity that minor league baseball gave us to enhance our outreach to the Hispanic and the Latino communities by changing our name from time to time to a name in Spanish and adding more color, more culture, more food, more music, celebrating various Spanish-speaking and Latino, that includes Portuguese, such as Brazil, nations. And what was very cool for us was this initiative won baseball's highest honor at the winter meetings in December for our Los Huepas de Worcester program. And the merchandise was hot. Note that we added rockets because of Goddard's role in Worcester at WPI, and he the father of the liquid fuel rocket. So that's what the Copa de la Diversión, the cup, the fun cup, was bestowed upon Los Huepas de Worcester.
Yeah, and then one thing too about the design and the logo of the hat is, I don't know if you could tell, but on the tips of the rockets, there are little small hearts on it for the heart of the Commonwealth.
Oh, how about that?
Which is a common theme that you'll see throughout the ballpark everywhere, right? Honestly, because, Worcester is the heart of the Commonwealth. And also the word WEPA too, just to kind of let everyone know or educate folks, including myself, when I first heard the word, it was actually created by a Worcester native who was at a fan plan meeting, which was one of many fan plan meetings we had throughout 21 fan plan meetings throughout Central Mass and Worcester, just getting feedback from the community, right? What do you want to see in your ballpark, right? What do you want to see for your team? So we had a fan plan meeting with Centro, which is a well-known, established nonprofit here in Worcester for the Latino Latinx community. And a gentleman by the name of Danny brought up the idea. He said, WEPA. And I asked him what it meant, and he couldn't really describe it. He more so could describe the feeling in which you say the word. And it's something that a lot of Spanish players, Latin players use, not only in baseball, but even in soccer, right? I have a Ghanaian friend who uses it. So it's a universal word that means whoa or yes, right? So imagine Big Papi, many, many times saying WEPA as soon as he hits a home run. So it's more so a form of expression.
On weekends this year, we had fireworks every Friday night. We had a sunset catch on the field every Saturday after our 4:00 game, and kids of all ages could run the bases after Sunday games. Now, we expect to do a lot of new and different things in WooSox 22, but these three elements are shaping up to be annual traditions. So we're looking at fireworks again on Friday night, the sunset catch on the field after Saturday games, and run the bases on Sunday. We also have reached out to various causes, medical issues, social justice issues, and our outreach to the autism community was illustrated with Autism Acceptance Night.
And one thing too, inside the ballpark that we have located at the fan services room is the Unum sensory friendly room, which was used, I would say, close to every minute that we were inside the ballpark playing games. It was just a safe space for kids and for adults too, right? Who have autism, who needed a quiet place, because you think about the different barriers there are for fans, for people who have autism, and the loud noises that is created at a ball game or any sort of sporting venue. Just being able to have a quiet space with toys that were recommended or common, just calming down things that folks use that were recommended by professionals too, right? We did a lot of research with this, just kind of listening to some of the research that's been done by local colleges and some professionals as well, as to how do we make folks, everybody here in the community, come to the ballpark and feel comfortable. That was our biggest priority. So for a lot of us, I think we all know the heroic story of Officer Familia, police officer in Worcester, who tragically lost his life, as well as a little boy who he went out to rescue and save, right? And it was a very heartwarming thing this day was, right? We had the family who we wanted to do something for them, right? Some way, some fashion, we wanted to do something for them. And little did we know that the family wanted to do something literally the day after or 2 days after. So we had a WAPA game, which is kind of a perfect coincidence, I guess, that we were honoring and highlighting the Dominican Republic, which Officer Familia was Dominican. So we had the family, I think all of the Worcester Police Department went to Officer Familia's son's baseball game in the morning. And then they all rushed him over to the ballpark, and he threw out a ceremonial first pitch. And we were able to have a comedy show at the ballpark later that month in honor of him and to raise funds for his family. But this photo on the left, it's a heartwarming photo of Yairo Munoz, one of our players, who came out to talk to Officer Familia's son, right? And something that was behind the scenes that I personally saw was every single player autographed multiple gloves, multiple baseball gloves of theirs, and gave it to me and told me to pass this along to the family. And they all said to me, this is their way of saying, hey, we're thinking of you and we're praying for you. So it was certainly an emotional day, emotional week, an emotional month for all of us. But it was just amazing to see how much the community came together at the ballpark, really, in honor of them and pay their respects and just help each other, get through such a tough time.
There is a legendary history that everybody probably knows between the Red Sox and the Jimmy Fund, between the Red Sox and Dana-Farber. And there would be no Polar Park without Dana-Farber. There would be no Fenway Park today without Dana-Farber. Dana-Farber saved Fenway Park. Dana-Farber allowed the establishment of Polar Park because Dana-Farber saved the life of Larry Lupino back in 1985 and 86. And you would not have had Larry as the key ballpark proponent in the Henry Werner ownership group with the know-how to save Fenway Park when every other ownership group vying for it 20 years ago was going to condemn Fenway Park. So it can't be more real or more personal or deeper. And that's why Larry is the chairman of the Jimmy Fund. All of us know people who have been in the battle. And a friend of mine was from California and had asked me in 2013 if we could spread this gospel that Boston seemed to understand, if we could spread it nationally. And that was when we took our childhood cancer awareness to an even higher level in Boston in 2015, forming a human gold ribbon, because gold is the color of childhood cancer awareness, having people hold placards. And we did it. Red Sox, Yankees, and Major League Baseball saw it, noticed it, adopted it, and now the beginning of September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Day throughout Major League Baseball. So here in our inaugural season, we wanted to bring that legacy to Polar Park, and you see the human gold ribbon, you see the children in the battle, and we had our players hold placards with the names of people they have known, who they're rooting for or who they're remembering. And this is a centerpiece of our efforts. It's one of the 4 pillars of our WooSox Foundation.
Yeah, one thing too, going back on that is the power and the technology that we have here at the ballpark. It's amazing, truly. And one thing, on November 17th, which is Pancreatic Cancer Day, we obviously didn't have a game. We actually didn't even have an event happening on that day. But we had folks reach out and asking what we could potentially do. So what we did was we actually turned the lights on, these LED lights throughout the ballpark purple as a day in honor of pancreatic cancer. So people who are driving by the ballpark, you can even see it from the highway. They saw that, and we actually got a lot of calls the next day asking, how come the ballpark was lit up purple? And we were able to kind of spread awareness, spread the news that we were able to do that. So even just using the technology of our ballpark, even when we're not playing, I mean, it's amazing to spread awareness.
One anecdote before we get to the Pride slide. When Larry was treated for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in 1985 and 1986, he was sequestered for 37 days at Fenway Park, at Dana-Farber. He was at that time the general counsel of the Baltimore Orioles. After the 37 days of sequestration, what he wanted was some semblance of normalcy. And his request on his first day out to see a baseball game at Fenway Park. And it was the first time he had ever been to Fenway Park. John Harrington of the Red Sox provided an unused glass enclosed broadcast booth. And interestingly, ironically, Larry's first game ever at Fenway was his first day out of treatment. And then years later, he would be the one to spearhead the saving of the very ballpark he visited on that day. Now, there are many attributes to Worcester and the surrounding area. The multiculturalism, the drawing of people from all walks of life was one of the most universally stated themes that we were taught in our 21 band planning sessions. Worcester's embrace of the Pride community was it was a message we heard loud and clear, and so we celebrated it loudly and clearly. And September in Worcester is Pride Month, and you see some of the color and the pageantry. And oh, Christine liked the fireworks that night. Thank you. Yeah, we set the soundtrack to those fireworks each Friday night, and we'll do it again this year. So,
yeah. And another amazing thing too on Pride weekend, we also were able to raise funds through highlighting a nonprofit. So we highlight a nonprofit every single night, and I'll let Joe Bradley touch upon that a little bit more. But we ended up working with Safe Homes, an organization here in Worcester that helps people from the LGBTQIA+ community. And it was just amazing to see the support, the local support that they had, and also just the monetary support from folks purchasing tickets through a unique ticket link. So we do highlight a nonprofit every single night. So Joe, if you're there, if you don't mind, talking a little bit about that.
Sure, no problem, Alex. And I would also just add to this group here that if there are any worthy nonprofits in your area that you'd like us to highlight, reach out to, by all means, get in touch with us. We honor, usually in most cases, multiple nonprofits at every single WooSox home game. So it's a part of what we do. It's a part of bringing people to the ballpark and making people feel welcome there. So please get a hold of us if there's any organization that you'd like us to show our support for and reach out to in some way. That's what we're here to do.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. Yes. So highlights. There were a lot of just historical moments, a lot of just first ever type moments that, Dr. Charles, I know, is extremely passionate about, and the rest of us within the organization, right? This was the first time, right? So just a couple of highlights that we had. The first one here on the top left was actually the first walk-off home run of WooSox history at Polar Park. So it was hit by Jaron Duran during Father's Day, an absolute sellout crowd, right? Packed, everybody excited. He had a 2-run home run walk-off when we were down by 1 run to left center field to kind of recap that weekend, which was amazing to see. The photo all the way to the right it was what I thought one of the most electrifying, exciting days of the season, truthfully. So that is Tate Matheny, our center fielder, who made a spectacular catch and saved the butt of not only Chris Sale, who was rehabbing that day. So Chris Sale was on the mat. I think it was the second inning. I want to say it was the second inning that that Tate robbed the home run. And as you can see, that's actually the berm, right? If you guys have been to the ballpark, in left field, we have the berm, the WooSox berm, which you can't even see a little tiny inch of green, which is grass, which is over there. So we have fans who bring blankets, sit on their blankets, sit over there. So it was a jam-packed day. I think Chris might have bought Tate Matheny, I think, a steak dinner the next night or something like that for saving his butt. Helping out
For the whole team.
I think he bought it for the whole team in honor of Tate, which was amazing. And also at the bottom here, we have Yairo Munoz's hit streak. And Joe and Dr. Charles, if maybe you want to talk about Munoz's hit streak and historically how great it was, and also what you've seen too.
I just love that we were blessed with more memorable moments in 1 year than some minor league teams get to have over a period of years. And what has struck us about the Worcester metropolitan area is how attuned and how attentive the fans are to the baseball. You can go to what are called minor league towns across the country in the heartland, and a ball game is a county fair. It's a circus. It's got everything you can imagine, plus a ball game going on. What we loved and were gratified to see was that fans here were into every pitch. They were into games where we were down 8-0. The players talked about it. Our players talked about it. Visiting players talked about it. And it was cool. You would watch and you would see that fans would sit in their seats and not go to the concession stand until the third out of the inning. You don't see that in the casual minor league atmosphere. The fans took baseball seriously, and I just love that we were able to give them, records like Munoz breaking Dom DiMaggio's organization record. I mean, think about that. That's pretty cool. That Tate Matheny, imagine what his thoughts were of the Boston Red Sox while his father is managing against us in the 2013 World Series, while his father is playing against us in the 2004 World Series. And now, all these years later, here he is making the catch of the year to thrill Chris Sale. And I think Joe Bradley and Alex are warming up the Hot Stove League. I think you may get to hear from Tate Matheny later this month in an announcement we'll make soon about a WooSox winter weekend, the weekend of January 29th. But don't let me spill the beans. So we loved the action on the field. We loved the highlights. And I do want to get to your questions. So let's see what our next slide is. Additional uses of the ballpark besides baseball. Yep. The food truck and craft beer, that was huge. And I know there's another one coming. Yes, the wine festival, that was huge. We've just kept the events going, and people have kept the attendance high in September, in October, in November, in December, and we want to keep it going. And, it's one of the promises we made that Polar Park would be a community park, a community gathering place with year-round uses. Yeah, Holy Cross football game was an event, and with a couple high school games the day before. We would love it to become an annual event, so we shall see. That was a great day. And yes, out and about as we said at the outset, we want to get to Shrewsbury. We want to go to Paxton and the whole, and we're going there. Smiley Ball on the right. That's Smiley Ball in Western Mass. He's at the Big E, I think, there. And Worcester, the Wonder Dog, that of course is Smiley's friend and pet, a rescue dog. It looks like Worcester knows how to drive. He was in that. That's probably drives better than Rick Medeiros. Well, that's Worcester, the Wonder Dog, and both of them are looking to help children fall in love with baseball. I know that all of you are on this because there was a time in your life that you fell in love with baseball, and it's our responsibility to foster an environment where children fall in love and where you fall in love again.
Perfect. Yeah, and just to talk a little bit about our foundation. So we have the WooSox Foundation, the philanthropic arm of the club. We have a lot of different pillars, primarily 4 main pillars, but many areas that we focus on. The first is the mirror picture to it is the bottom left one, our WooSox scholars. So our first pillar is education. Our second pillar is social justice, which is an array of things. Our third is conquering cancer. And then our last pillar is diamond sports, just promoting healthier lifestyle, healthier eating, active play, staying off the video games type of thing. So those are our 4 main pillars that we have for the foundation, and not excluding anything else, but we work with essentially every single nonprofit. We do a bunch of different programming for Worcester Public School kids, kids in Shrewsbury, kids all over Central Mass as a whole. And yes, a part of that, we had the holiday caravan, the WooSox Foundation inaugural holiday caravan, where first baseman Josh Alchemy, located on the right-hand side of the photo, he came up for about a week, and we went to 9 different locations, 7 different nonprofit organizations. The photo on the left is actually at the Worcester Public Library, right across the street from us. We read a couple of books from our WooSox Foundation book nook, which is located on the 2nd floor inside the library. And all the way to the left, the woman in the blue shirt, her name is April Jones Prince, who's actually a Shrewsbury native, who actually wrote a book in honor of Jackie Robinson. It's called Jackie Robinson, The Celebration of His Life, which is amazing. So there's a nice little Shrewsbury tie-in there.
And I got to meet her when I did I've done it a couple of years, a reading on Shrewsbury's, what's that day in March? It's a reading day, I guess we call it. And we read at the elementary school, and I met her there that day. But we love doing that in Shrewsbury. And yes, it culminated not only with our being recognized as for our outreach into the Latino community on the right with the award, but also minor league baseball's top award for community outreach. And the only problem with winning that award in your rookie year is how you're going to top it. And yet that's what we want to do. So we want to come to your organization. We want to help your charities. We want to visit your towns. And we now want to answer your questions. And I know one of them was one of the thornier ones, but thank goodness it's got a good answer. And that is, how will a major league lockout affect the WooSox and spring training? The answer is it does not affect the WooSox spring training. The members of the WooSox are, in most cases, not on the 40-man roster of the Boston Red Sox. So they are therefore not members of the Players Association. So they are shielded from the impact of a work stoppage. If you know this franchise's history, you know that the Paw Sox were legendary for playing the longest game in the history of professional baseball, 33 innings, 1981. It ended on June 23rd. And the reason that it had such an exalted status was the major leaguers were on strike. And the baseball world was starving for a good baseball story. And so the national and international media descended upon McCoy Stadium. So AAA baseball and the levels below it march right on. So our opening day is set. There might be a couple players who you thought you might see, who you won't see, but you might not have seen them anyway if they got the call to Boston. So we go right ahead, and that includes spring training. Now, minor league spring training usually begins a little bit later than major league spring training. So instead of seeing these players in February, if the lockout were to continue, you would see them in March. Let's talk about libraries. Let's see, who's this? This is from a person named iPhone. They're at a library in a neighboring town, would love to offer discounts and passes to our patrons. Also consider having a library day where summer readers could attend and be honored. I love that. There's got to be a way. What's so easy is for me to say yes and for Joe Bradley to then figure it out. So yeah, I think there should be a way that if you go to your library, it therefore means something special for you to happen at Polar Park. We love the libraries. We love reading. We love writing. We created a great Fenway Park Writers series, and we've been eager to get started with our great Polar Park Writers series, where the authors of books that are likely about baseball, but not all about baseball, can come and maybe we can do it on a visiting basis. Oh, that would be cool. How about that? How about if say Dan Shaughnessy is going to talk about the curse of the Bambino, or talk about voting for David Ortiz or not. Let's say that we had that at the Shrewsbury Public Library, but then Michael Silverman might talk about his book at And You Tell Us. So how about Joe Bradley, which is J Bradley, that's BRADLEE at WooSox.com. How about if he's the recipient of the invitations from various libraries to have events at the library? I remember taking Bruce Bochy, now a legendary manager. He was a rookie manager, second-year manager with the Padres. I took him to the Malcolm X Library in San Diego. We did a reading day. My gosh, that's 26 years ago, and I can still see us there. So I think events at libraries might be kind of cool. Get people into the habit of going to the library. How about that?
Yeah, and Charles, just to piggyback off that, we have had library programs in the past when we were in Pawtucket, and you mentioned the generous donation that we made to the Worcester Public Library. I think it's absolutely something we would explore doing again in Worcester. I think due to some of the capacity restrictions that we faced in May, and this time last year, we weren't even sure how many games that we were going to be playing at Polar Park. So I think it was just something that was a little bit more challenging to get off the ground as we made the transition to Worcester in our inaugural season there. But my email is in the chat for everybody to see, and it's certainly something that we'd love to continue the dialogue on.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. And Steve, you're talking a little bit about, or your question is about some of the prospects. I mean, the biggest one is Tristan Casas. I would definitely say is our biggest prospect, who ended the season last year with us in AAA. I think it was his first game, actually hit an opposite field home run to left center. So he is tall, big frame, young, 21 years old, played for Team USA during the Olympics, along with his teammate Jack Lopez as well, who was a utility player for us. So I would say Tristan Casas certainly right there at the top of the list, and there are a couple other guys who I would say their ceilings are high. And it's been a while since we've had this many different young, exciting prospects that seem to have really big futures ahead of them. So we're excited. Any other questions? I don't know if anybody else has anything else.
Hold on, there's one. My library's in Andover. Good. We love Andover. That's in our range, and we're happy to come to Andover. What else? Thank you for the congratulations. So yeah, the minor league season is scheduled to start on time, and virtually all the players that you would typically see, you'll see. Libraries.
Christine thinks our fireworks are amazing, and we'll be having them every Friday.
As we said, every Friday plus 4th of July. Let me ask you this: if so many of you are good book readers, why don't you put in the chat, what are your favorite baseball books? You know, I teach at Emerson College, and I made a list of my top, I think, 30 baseball books that a college student should have under their belt. Go ahead, tell us what your favorite baseball books are.
Dr. Charles,
Yes.
What about Truck Day? Did Pawtucket or the WooSox have a Truck Day in February?
Yes. Yeah, what we did was when we created Truck Day at Fenway Park, and then took over the Paw Sox, we realized, well, it's coming down 95. Will you pull into McCoy? And it did. So we had Truck Day. It's the same truck because it's the same players. You know, you've got about 55 players typically in spring training. Only 25 are going to be on that opening day roster for the Red Sox, and only 25 are going to be on, or I guess we're up to 26. And we have 25 still on the WooSox roster. So your WooSox are actually in big league camp. So they're one and the same. So we are going to ask the truck, if there's a Truck Day, if it can come west on the Pike, visit Polar Park, and then it can go down 84 to proceed from there.
And we always knew when Truck Day was, right? We always knew it was the day after Tom Brady won the Super Bowl.
Right. You're right. All right. I see Good Enough to Dream by Roger Kahn, who of course was the author of The Boys of Summer. Still a classic. But Good Enough to Dream, I need to read that one. Homegrown by Alex, right? And I think I was with Alex when we did the great Fenway Park Writer Series, but I don't know that I've read it yet. But that's good. These are good. These are.
I'm reading Cloudbuster by Anne Keene, I believe it is. It's Ted Williams' daughter by one of the marriages, and it's the Cloudbusters were when Ted Williams, and Johnny Pesky went down to North Carolina, to be part of a team, all right, in this first enlistment, during World War II. It's pretty good. Called Cloudbusters.
All right, Cloudbusters. Now I have to. Oh, that was you, Joe. Here I thought I was going to be able to tell you a great story. So Joe Bradley just said, "How about The Kid?" Which is the great 700, 800-page book about Ted Williams. And Joe is usually way too modest to say, so I usually have to say it for him. But notice the spelling of Joe's last name. And yes, that is his father, Ben Bradley Jr., who wrote that definitive book about Ted Williams. And yes, it was Joe Bradley's late grandfather, Ben Bradley, one of the most accomplished people in the history of the United States, protecting the bastion of journalism. And his grandfather was portrayed twice in Hollywood. Jason Robards and Tom Hanks. How about that? Who can say that? And then is the movie that featured his father, Spotlight, won an Oscar as well. And John Slattery portrayed Joe's father. But what was so cool was in one of the scenes with John Slattery portraying Ben Bradley Jr., Joe's dad is actually standing right by the actor who was portraying him. So the real Ben Bradley was an extra with Slattery portraying his father. So, and I do recommend the Ted Williams book. It'll take you a while. It's about 800 pages. I read the whole thing. But yeah, Joe is from the foremost family of American journalism.
Perfect. Any last questions at all? I know we're right at the top of the hour.
Look for us to have a WooSox winter weekend on Friday night, January 28th, a virtual town hall. Then get into the real nitty gritty of baseball on Saturday the 29th. And then how about a Valentine's dinner the Saturday before Valentine's Day? How about a fever pitch movie night at Polar Park in late February, perhaps? And maybe Rick Medeiros and his dear friend, the spaceman, Bill Lee, could maybe entertain you on a sure to be hilarious night in March. How does all that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. We thank the Shrewsbury Public Library. We love Shrewsbury, and we expect to do more and more there. But again, you tell us how we can help you, and I'm telling you that Joe Bradley will say yes. Very easy for me to do.
Great.
We always do.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out to
Thank you very
Shrewsbury.
much. Bobby D, have a great one. Always great seeing you, my man.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah, thank all of you for coming. This has been a really excellent program. I know
You
the
did a great job, fella. Thanks for
thanks.
having me, Mike. We'll
Thanks.
see you at the ballpark.
Oh, definitely. I don't live that far from there.
Really? Do you have a vehicle?
I do, yeah.
We'll take you in the blue shuttle.
Let me ask you something. Can you give us a hand transporting?
We'll see. We'll
All
see.
right, plus one other question. Since you don't live that far, do you have like a guest room?
Rick will pay you a very high rent.
Okay.
He is much wealthier than he looks.
God, I wish. I
We
live
all
on drama noodles.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you.
Good time.